This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast. It's Australia's only Formula One podcast recorded in the postcode of 4216. This little Aussie battler of a podcast we are most listened to in Papua New Guinea. We are third on the charts in Papua New Guinea after Mangrove Murderer. And is that a crocodile? No, it's a log. Fantastic podcast. By all means, check them out. Subscribe. Get a listen. They're very well worth it after, of course, listening to this podcast. Now, I want to talk about the hand jobs for the homeless. This is the Effing One Podcast official charity. And by all means, get down to your homeless shelter. Lend a hand or two if they're so well endowed. And just get out there and scrub some old people off, some young, down on their luck. Give them some hand relief and they will be forever thankful. You could give them food, you could give them money. You know they're just going to waste it. But what better way to show your gratitude and show that you care by giving a bit of love of the handy variety. Now, there's some talking points from the race. Azerbaijan Grand Prix has just been. We have the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend. There's been bouncing, porpoising, and bottoming. Now, no one knows bottoming better than Sebastian Vettel. This man is a professional bottom. He's there by choice. He's there by desire. Where Lance Stroll is just a bottom bitch. He's useless, he's retarded, but there is a lot of people who are suffering from lower back pain. And I think no one is suffering more from lower back pain than George Russell. Now, he is carrying this Mercedes-AMG Formula One team. There's a 7-time world champion on the other side of the garage. What's he doing? Fuck all. He is being outqualified and outraced by his teammate continuously. Now, would you replace Lewis Hamilton? Would Mercedes dare to release him into the wild? Maybe he could go to Williams and drive down there with Nicholas Latifi and promote Oscar Piastri up to the Mercedes team. Exciting times. Maybe not for Ferrari. Ferrari's engines can't take the stress. And if you notice, they're carrying way too much wing. Like, yes, Azerbaijan has a 2-kilometre flat out from the last, what I would officially call a corner. There's some bends and S's, which they seem to get through flat chat. But they really seem to be concerned about holding on to some rear wing there at Ferrari, and it did scupper them. By all means, you're going to get pole position because you've had a good first two sectors. In the last sector, they were down by a couple of tenths and down by a fair few Ks. But what I would do, and hey, this is the Effing On Podcast engineering corner, reduce the rear wing, because when it comes to the race, when you've got a slick car behind you, they are going to slipstream you quite easily. Get into that DRS zone, flip that DRS, and get in front of you. Think about the race, Ferrari, and I think that's what Red Bull Racing have been doing, focusing on race pace. Now, with tracks you can't overtake, like what was Monaco, you could probably get away with adding more wing and being difficult to overtake. But when you've got a massive straight and massive opportunities to overtake with a big slipstream and a big DRS open, why scup yourself? Why handcuff yourself? It's ridiculous. Ferrari, once again, dropping the ball and dropping a shitload of points, with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz not finishing the race. The Melbourne Grand Prix has unfortunately signed up to 2035, so the race will stay in the Victorian state. But it doesn't mean I'm giving up hope for the Nurang Grand Prix. The Nurang Grand Prix is gathering momentum. Now, you thought previously in the past that the Nurang Grand Prix was something that was just a fairy tale or something that... But I've spoken to council and I said, listen, if you want my vote in the next election, you will get behind the Nurang Grand Prix. And to my face, they've said they will. Does that mean anything? No, they're a politician, so I wouldn't taste. But it's Nurang. There's a heart and soul. It's the Monaco of the Gold Coast. It's a place where You get some of the worst methamphetamine. You get some fantastically loose prostitutes, and it's ground zero for a lot of the world's diseases and viruses. The great bull shark riddled Nerang River and the Hill, the nude section with a special touch of sunscreen. You've got the One Montoya section, which goes through all the fast food outlets of McDonald's, KFC, Hungry Jack's, Guzman and Gomez. You've got Subway. You've got a petrol station, and the drivers are going to have to go through the petrol stations and fill up in the middle of the race. They're going to have to get out, put the pump in, and that is how Nerang is making Formula 1 different, and how Effing One podcast is making Formula 1 great again. Rumours of Piastri going to Williams. I did mention that he would go there. It looks like they're not wanting Renault engines or the Alpine engines. It looks like they want to stick with the Mercedes, and it could be just a driver deal. Now, if Williams play it strong and play it smart, they could offer Oscar something a little bit more than what Alpine can. Alpine isn't a front runner. They do show glimpses of brilliance with a win with Esteban Ocon last year, and Fernando Alonso getting a podium. And Fernando has shown pace, not up to the Ferrari Red Bull pace, but there is opportunities for Piastri next year. I would prefer him not to go to Williams. I know it was great for George Russell, but 3 years at Williams is going to be too long. Esteban Ocon has the end of 2024, I believe, and he won a race, and therefore they signed him for a deal. I don't know why they did that for so long. But I've said but a lot because I am a big fan of buts. The one idea that can make Formula 1 great again is, and I've said this before, and I'm mentioning it again, because when we seem to have changeable conditions, when we seem to have difficulty warming the tyres, it makes the drivers difficult and makes it more interesting for us. Now, it's all good and well to have pre-warm tyres to go out to the track and bam, you're right on it. What other series does that? If you want to change tyres or you start the race, we're going to heat the tyres up for you. These are professional racing drivers. Sure, they won't start the race because they haven't had any wet running, but give them an opportunity to race without tyre warmers. Make those tyres cold again. That's my idea. I'm rehashing because I think it needs to happen. You can go on about safety and all about this and that, about what tyre warmers do. No, it just gives them a little bit of an edge. But these guys are professionals. You look at IndyCar, you look at all the touring car championships. They didn't have tyre warmers, so just do it. Make it difficult. Make it so that when people want to jump someone in the pits, it's not so straightforward, because when that person comes out, or they'll run longer and do an overcut, that it's not so easy to just get out of pit lane, and you'll have 3/4 of a lap. You'll be struggling to get heat into those tyres. I'm all for that. Make it more difficult for drivers. Make them have to use their talents, drive by their asshole, and feel that car slide and pick up heat. And if they can't handle it, they can piss off. And whichever other racing category they go to, guess what? No tyre warmers. Get rid of them, I say. The race rating I'm giving the Azerbaijan Grand Prix 7 out of 10. There was some lull periods. It did sort of spice up towards the end. I think there was a fair few gaps between some of the cars, and there wasn't a huge amount of overtaking towards the end, but there was battles as tyres. There wasn't a lot of tyre differences. There was probably only 3 cars that went with a different strategy. And it was interesting. You heard Lando Norris get on the radio afterwards, and he said, why can't I overtake Daniel? And they said, listen, we're going to hold positions. We held positions and did team orders in the first half of the race, and we're just going to repay that favour. And he goes, no, what? But this is for finishing positions. I just want to give you a heads up, Lando, that everything that you do, all the strategy earlier in the race, was in regards to your finishing position. Strategies are for finishing position. Just a heads up, mate. You may not be aware of it. You're young. You may not be aware that strategy can impact your finishing decision. So when Daniel was clearly quicker on the hard tyres, as hard tyres seemed to be the tyres that were the quickest and sturdiest, Daniel could have overtaken you. He came out and sort of balked a few times to go, hey, I could, but I'm not going to because the team want me to stay behind. Daniel could have maybe jumped Alonso, and Alonso may have overtaken him later on in the race, but they didn't give him that opportunity. They wanted to hold stations and play with team orders. But yeah, just a heads up, Lando, and all those Lando fans, that your strategy does impact your finishing position. Who knows where that could have happened if they let Daniel go. And I think if you're on different strategies, whoever's quicker, let him go. And they've done that before. And if it doesn't work out, you flip them by later on, if it's that much of a big deal. But give them that opportunity. All you're doing is you're handcuffing, and you're like, we're working towards one car. Don't do that. If someone's faster, let them go. You're not fighting for the win here. You're fighting for fucking a couple of points. Give one opportunity. If it was the other way around, I'd be like, they would tell Daniel, let Lando past, which they have done in the past, and I know they will. It was a clear sign that McLaren didn't want Daniel to go forward in that race. But then their hands were tied because they'd already paid. They've already played the you can't pass rule, so they're going to keep it and let Daniel stay ahead towards the end of the race when Lando was clearly quicker. Let them race. Who cares? They're fighting for bugger all. First was Max Verstappen. Second was Sergio Perez. Third was George Russell. The race by drivers. Max got 25 points. Qualified third behind his teammate, but raced up to first. He was once Charles was gone with an engine blow up. Max kind of went away quite easily away from Sergio. Sergio qualified ahead of Max. He got 19 points. He got second and the fastest lap in the race finish. Charles and Carlos, 0 points. Qualified first and fourth respectively. 19th and 20th as well, respectively. Not great weekend for the Scuderia Ferrari, or Scuderia, whichever way you want to say it. Not a good weekend. Hamilton got 12 points, qualified 7th, finished 4th. Russell, 15 points, qualified 5th, finished 3rd. Russell keeps pantsing his teammate. And now I'm not hearing, I don't know if, George is a pom. Hamilton's a pom. They're both, poms are known for their whinging. If you're any English listeners tuning in right now, you understand. You complain a bit, and so does everyone else. But you do take the tea, crumpets, and cake when it comes to having a whinge. And I haven't heard Russell going on about how bad his back is. So maybe it's just Lewis. Maybe he's accidentally pressed his junk into the bottom half of his pants, and when he's bottoming, he's squashing his junk a little. He's massive man junk. Lando Norris got 2 points, qualified 11th, finished 9th. Ricciardo, 4 points, qualified 12th, finished 8th. I went over what they were going on about earlier. No point more to talk about them. Gasly, 10 points, qualified 6th, finished 5th. We know the gas man listens to the podcast, and you can clearly tell that he is pulled his fucking finger out from being weak as piss. Congratulations, Gasly. You are the Coke man of the match. That's right, we're sponsored by Coke. Pierre Gasman Gasly, congratulations. You're not the Coke no sugar. You're not the Coke Diet Coke. You're not the caffeine free. You actually did a good job once again. 2 weekends in a row, I'd give it to him. The Monaco Grand Prix, racing from 17th to 11th and 6th to 5th, gaining 10 points. Good job from him. Swery Sonoda got 0 points, qualified 8th, finished 13th. He got overtaken quite by Vettel early on. Vettel had a very good race, and he's up next. He got 8 points, qualified 9th, finished 6th. Fantastic job by Fingerboy Vettel. I'm loving Vettel at the moment. He is absolutely pantsing his mentally challenged teammate Lance Stroll, who qualified 19th and finished 16th. A fantastic job by Stroll. He did a really good job in qualifying. He crashed and he didn't damage his front wing. They're like, all right, we'll try another lap. And then he went ahead and crashed again and properly broke that front wing and broke his front right wheel assembly. Congratulations, Lance Stroll. You are officially shit. Shitter than shit. Nearly as shit as Nikita Mazepin, but nearly. Not quite, but nearly. Bottas qualified 15th, raced to 11th, just out of the points. Zhou Guanyu out-qualified his teammate for the first time? I don't know, but he out-qualified him. And congratulations, Zhou. And you finished 18th with another problem from the Alfa Romeo. He is getting a bad run of it. But it was 4 Ferrari-powered cars didn't finish that race with Zhou's Alfa, Kevin Magnussen's assholes, and the 2 Ferraris themselves did not finish. Not a good weekend for the power plants of the Ferraris. Magnussen, 0 points, qualified 16th, finished 17th. Well, didn't finish really. Schumacher, he qualified 20th and dead last. Raced 14th, but hey, bright side, ahead of Latifi. So Fernando Alonso got 6 points, qualified 10th, raced up to 7th. Great job by the Fonz. French stick Ocon, 1 point, qualified 13th, finished 10th. Albon qualified 17th, finished 12th. Good run by Albon again. Latifi, the big queef himself, the Canadian queef, he was 18th in qualifying, finished 15th. He's got his home race with Lance Stroll this weekend. Will that make a difference? Hell no. The battle of the kids that were dropped as billionaire boys. It'll be interesting to know how they're going. The awards, the Green Award goes to Ferrari for lowering the carbon footprint, for thinking about the environment and ending their race early. The Lick It and Send It Award we're giving to Vettel on Swery Sonoda lap 1. Fantastic job by Vettel going around the outside and making it happen and sticking it into the next corner. Pastor Maldonado for dangerous driving. We're giving to Stroll. Mainly, he's just a danger to himself. The F1 Podcast Award we're giving to Sebastian Vettel, not only for continuously pantsing his teammate, but also pissing off Ben Sulayem. And I'm really appreciating any driver who pisses off the FIA president. And keep it up. Talk about everything will piss him off. Get more piercings, everyone. Wear rainbow shit. Everyone rainbow up. Get it on. It's Pride Month. Yuji Ide Award for wasting everyone's time. We're giving that to Nicholas Latifi because really, is there anyone else who is more of a waste of time? And this award could change from Yuji Ide to Nicholas Latifi. You just never know. You don't know what I'm going to say next. And the last award, we all know what's coming up next, don't we? It is. Oh. That's right, it's the Your Shit Award. And we're giving that this week to Nikita Mazepin. Because he just is. He's not in F1 anymore, but I think if we look back, we think about him, when you think about all the current drivers, and who can we give this award to, there's no one better, no more deserving recipient of the Your Shit Award than the Russian Nikita Mazepin. Now, I've thought of a new little battle award. This is the battle for Southeast Asia. Now, there's a disputed zone that China are trying to move some warships into. So I thought about making an award. You're thinking about, political maneuvers, but hey, it should come down to 3 countries, Thailand, Japan, and China. And we're going with Alexander Albon, Swery Sonoda, and Zhou Guanyu. I want to see these guys battle it out for the disputed zone in the South Asia Sea. So whoever wins this battle at the end of the year gets to, their government gets to keep this disputed zone that China's trying to steal from people. All right? There. That's how you deal with politics. You just get sport involved. Take that, Ben Sulayem. The fastest lap of the race was Sergio Perez with a 1 minute 46.046. And the fastest pit stop was out by Alpine with a 2.74. I can't remember a time when Alpine, Renault, or whoever got a 2.7. Whoever got the fastest lap from their French team. Normally they're sipping cigarettes and sipping coffee and smoking cigarettes. Generally, what the French do best. Right behind surrendering. Driver of the day was Lewis. For some fucking reason, he finished once again behind his teammate. Maybe it was a pity or a sympathy vote by the people online that his back's a little bit sore. He got out of the car very slow, very gingerly, really playing it up for all the cameras just to show. I think he should take his helmet off next time just to show the anguish when he gets out of the car, just so you're not sure if he's in pain or not. Now, the Turd Championship, Minifon's got negative 25 points. Now, Minifon's, he has jumped he's into fourth in the Turd Championship with a negative 25 points. He had a few DNFs, first laps and early on in the race. So Minifon's negative 75 points, just behind Great Wall, Zhou Guanyu, 78 points. We've got Latifi. So Latifi is negative 77 points. Junior Schumacher being the outright shittest driver so far this year. And he is in the running to win the Golden Turd, the Turd Championship, which is one of his largest turds I've ever seen in the making of this Little Aussie Battler podcast. The man has managed to... it's art. It's this beautiful, silky turd that's just held in one form. We've dusted it in glitter and then stuck it to a side of oak. And then I've poured some acrylic over it just to keep its natural brown colour, which the Turd Championship is all about. Charles Leclerc, negative 18 points. Great Wall of China, he's on negative 15 points. Suck My Balls Magnussen, negative 12. Daddy Boy Stroll, negative 10. Latifi, negative 8. Junior Schumacher, negative 6. Sweary Tsunoda, negative 4. TIE Fighter, Alexander Albon, negative 2. And Bearas Bottas, negative 1 point. Now, as I said, Junior out in front, ahead of the Great Wall, Latifi, and Carlos Sainz in a Ferrari, being one of the shittest drivers in Formula 1. Bad luck for him. The tips, Cliff and T equal on 14. Pat, 15. And Jim and myself on 16. I'm still just 1 point behind Pat. He's on 109. I'm on 108. Then we've got Jim 105, Cliff 102, T 101, and Pete still under the triple digits at 97. Pull your finger out, producer Pete. Next race is Canada. Oh, Canada, the race that's up just next. 4.361 kilometre track, 70 laps of the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. First Grand Prix of 1978. Haven't been there for a couple of hot minute years. Race distance is 305.27 kilometres. Lap record is Valtteri Bottas, 1 minute 13.078. Now, the tyres that they'll be running this weekend are the C3, C4, and C5. They are the three softest compounds of Pirelli's range. Now, again, I know, on the edge of your seat, you only listen to the podcast for this. The minimum starting pressures on the front tyres is 23.0 psi and 20.5 psi on the rear. The camber is 3.25% on front, but it's been a change. There's a negative 2.00 degrees on the rear. Before, I think it was like 1 point something. So there has been a change in the rear camber for the Montreal Grand Prix. Exciting times. The weather, I'm a bit concerned. There's a bit of moisture. 9 to 24 degrees. Rain and lightning on Friday. Rain on 11 to 13 degrees. 2 degrees change in temperature. That's going to be a fucking shit day. Rain on Saturday. Sunday, 11 to 21. Now, Sunday is going to be clearing and fine by the sounds of it. But with what happened in Monaco, where they had dry running all weekend and then all of a sudden it's raining, and they're like, listen, we'll have to postpone the start of the race because it's wet, and these guys haven't done any wet driving yet. The best drivers in the world haven't had any wet driving. Now, they're going to have wet driving all weekend through practice, qualifying. It's probably all going to be in the rain. So what happens come race day? Does the FIA go, well, all these guys haven't had any dry running, we have to start behind a safety car? Wouldn't surprise me with the level of stupidity from the conglomerate of fuckwits that are the FIA. The previous poll was in 2019. Sebastian Vettel with 1 minute 10.240. The podium was Hamilton, Vettel ahead of Leclerc. This was when Vettel ran wide down in turn, was it 1, 2, 3, 4? He ran wide. He ran wide at turn 4 and he outbraked himself going into the corner, ran wide. He kind of chopped off in front of Hamilton. They gave Vettel a penalty, so he finished ahead. He was penalised and he got moved behind Hamilton. I think it was a bit unfair. I think that there was when something happens that quickly, it's not about slowing down and rejoining. You kind of just slide across the track. And, of course, you're going to block. Was I think it was dangerous? No. Has it happened before? Yes. Has that person been penalised? No. Stupid decision. Robbed Sebastian Vettel of a win. And also, I think this was the one where he drove behind the second place bollard, and then he picked it up and moved the number 1 back in front of his car. And I hope he does that again. I don't care where he finishes. I hope he grabs the number 1 and drags it to his car down the other end of the field and then puts it in front of the car again. I just want to see Sebastian flip out. Now, I am dressed as a Toronto Maple Leaf hockey player for the podcast. I'm wearing my skates. I've got my knee pads on. I have knocked out a couple of teeth to really get that proper hockey player look. And it is the Stanley Cup playoffs at the moment. My team is out, the New York Rangers. What a shame. But I hope Colorado absolutely wipe the floor with Tampa. But it wouldn't surprise me. They've already won 2. So that's enough hockey for this F1 podcast. And I'm sitting down. I've been delivered some Canadian treats. And if you can guess, I'll wait. Did you guess right? It was poutine, which is chips smothered in all sorts of bits and bobs. There's bacon on top of it. There's cheese. You name it. They've just piled mac and cheese on top of this. Just normal cheese, and more cheese with a bit of gravy on top of your French fries. And for this weekend, in my Toronto Maple Leafs, I was going to go Montreal Canadiens, but they were pretty shit this year. So I'm not choosing them. I am going with the Toronto Maple Leafs to sit in. It's a bathtub of maple syrup. I'll be sitting over the weekend to keep nice and sticky and to keep that Canadian tradition going. It's disgusting. It's fun, but that's how I watch the Canadian Grand Prix, and so should you. Getting on the tipping contest, go to Twitter. Check out the F1 podcast Twitter. The pinned tweet, you will find your tipping competition. And if you start up now, that's right, now, you will start at the same position of producer Pete, our handy sound engineer of this podcast. And he does such a fantastic job of keeping my levels level. Enjoy the Canadian Grand Prix. Say hi to your mum. My mum says hi, and I'll talk to you next time.